This is the depraved dance of a murderer high on his crime. Deng Cholmajek had attacked a staff member from the Asylum hotel where he was being housed. Outside he celebrated, while in the background police and paramedics rushed to help. Seemingly excited after stabbing 27-year-old Rhiannon Skye more than 23 times with a screwdriver.
Look at this place. Bescott Stadium train platform in Walsall, UK. Nothing special, right? Just concrete, steel, and empty night air. It's a quiet 2-minute walk from the local hotel, a place Rhiannon Skye Whyte made every Sunday night after her shift. But on October 20th, 2024, this 2-minute walk was where a beautiful life ran out of time. This isn't the story of a random attack. This is the story of a cold, predatory plot executed by someone Rhiannon knew, trusted, and even cared for. Most people think a killer looks like a monster. What if he was just the guy you served dinner to every day? Rhiannon was 27, a mother, and she was on the phone with her childhood friend, Emma Cowley, as she walked. A normal call, the kind you barely pay attention to. Gossip, plans, the usual end-of-shift check-in. Rhiannon was walking across the car park, heading toward that deserted platform, and then the conversation shattered. Emma heard it all. Not a cry, but a high-pitched and utterly terrified scream. The kind of sound that rips through the night and stays in your head forever. One scream, then silence. The line went dead. That sudden, impossible void was the sound of a human struggle happening 2 countries away, and Emma was powerless to stop it. Rhiannon worked at the Park Inn, a temporary home for asylum seekers, including the man who would hunt her down. Her job was to clean and serve them food. Her sister said Rhiannon was the most selfless person they knew. She truly enjoyed listening to the residents, believing she was making a positive difference to people in need. That compassion, her desire to see the good in everyone, was exactly what put her on the killer's radar. Her kindness was, quite literally, her undoing. And the cost? It's impossible to calculate. Rhiannon left behind her family, including her 5-year-old son. The family talks about the immense difficulty of explaining her death to that boy, recounting that the scream that left that child that day would haunt them permanently. Her life was priceless, and it was violently stolen by a man she was paid to serve. If you've ever had that moment where your gut screamed, but you ignored it, hit subscribe. Don't wait until you're the last person to spot the danger. Get the real-life warning signs from stories like this before it's too late. What is more dangerous, the kindness you offer or the kindness you accept? Tell me what you think below. Welcome to True Crime Footprint, where we unveil the darkest mysteries in the most terrifying true crime tales. Kindly hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our new stories. Your support keeps these stories alive. Rhiannon Skye Whyte was known for being the most selfless person. It's the kind of trait people remember long after a tragedy. Her sister said she always saw the good in everyone, and that wasn't just a hopeful cliche. It was how she approached her job at the Park Inn, which was housing asylum seekers. She didn't just hand out meals. She took the time to listen. She sat with the residents. They opened up to her about their stories of coming to the UK, and Rhiannon felt like she was genuinely making a positive difference to people who needed it. To be honest, I think Rhiannon just wanted to help people. Maybe that's why she never saw the threat that was sitting right there in the cafeteria watching her. Her empathy, the very best part of her, was the worst shield imaginable. Let's talk about the man who was watching.
A TV video was played to the court today. It showed what was happening in the cafeteria and reception of the Park Inn Hotel in Walsall from early evening. Rhiannon is handing out crisps and biscuits. Deng Cholmajek is sitting on a stool in the cafeteria. The court has been told how he'd been staring at Rhiannon Skye Whyte throughout the evening while she was working. Prosecuting counsel Michelle Healy KC has told the jury that the defendant was hanging around the reception area staring at Rhiannon. She also told the jury that one of the hotel workers had noticed that the defendant seemed to be staring at Rhiannon too.
The court was shown CCTV from inside the hotel just hours before Rhiannon was attacked, which showed the defendant, Deng Cholmajek, brushing past Rhiannon and 2 of her colleagues as he leaves through the front entrance.
It's just after 11 o'clock and Rhiannon finishes work and heads to Bescot train station, followed, say the prosecution, by Deng Chol Majek.
Rhiannon Skye Whyte seen here on her phone as she made her way to the platform at Bescot Stadium train station in Walsall on the 20th of October last year, after finishing work at the Park Inn Hotel. At the time, she was on the phone to her friend Emma Cowley.
The CCTV cameras on the platforms weren't working, but the prosecution say this is where Rhiannon was attacked. Soon after, Deng Chol Majek is seen leaving the station, and according to the prosecution, he throws Rhiannon's phone into the river. He goes into one shop, then another, and buys some beer. He then returns to the hotel. The housing officer, Tyler English, said other asylum seekers at the hotel had told him that a member of hotel staff was at the train station. He went to the station and he saw Rhiannon propped up near a bus shelter. She wasn't conscious. He put her in the recovery position. She was then taken to hospital.
His name is Deng Chol Majek, a Sudanese national residing at the hotel. According to his own testimony, he hadn't argued with Rhiannon. They didn't have a problem. In fact, he claimed he never even noticed Miss Whyte. But the CCTV tells a completely different story. Around 8 p.m. that night, hours before the murder, Majek was in the cafeteria, constantly positioned to face her while she worked. By 9:20 p.m., he's in the reception area, continuing to stare at Rhiannon and her colleagues for prolonged periods. His behavior was so focused, so persistent, the prosecution called it spooky. But here's where it gets really interesting. That passive observation escalated. Just before Rhiannon clocked out, Majek deliberately brushed into her near the hotel entrance. It wasn't accidental. It was a test, a physical violation of her space. And Rhiannon, likely seeing it as an innocent mistake, unknowingly passed him. She was marked. At around 11:01 p.m., Rhiannon says her goodbyes and starts her short walk to the station, still on the phone with Emma. Seconds later, Majek is seen on CCTV following her, taking the exact same route. He wasn't catching a train. He was stalking his prey to the isolated Bescot platform. He was wearing a distinctive dark and light gray jacket and a pair of sandals. Pieces of evidence we'll come back to. Rhiannon was oblivious, still talking, unaware that the kindness she had shown him over the past 3 months had just earned her a brutal, cold-blooded execution. If you had been her colleague, witnessing Majek's prolonged stare, would you have dismissed it as harmless, or would you have seen the monster in the making? Let me know your honest thoughts. Majek caught up with her on the deserted platform. The sudden, violent end of Rhiannon's phone call with Emma Cowley tells you everything you need to know about the lack of warning. The ferocity of what happened next is difficult to process. Majek launched a vicious and frenzied attack, not with a knife, but with a screwdriver. He stabbed her 23 times. 19 of those wounds were concentrated on her head. 11 wounds penetrated her skull. Think about that. That wasn't a crime of passion or a brief outburst of temper. That was an intimate, focused intent to inflict catastrophic, immediate harm. Most people stop here, thinking they understand the anger, but the sheer savagery of this next detail is insane. This was a calculated execution using a common tool, turning an everyday object into a lethal weapon. Having left Rhiannon injured and bleeding from her head on the platform, Majek hurried away. But he didn't run. He demonstrated a terrifying composure. CCTV footage tracked his steps.
On his return to the hotel, he's filmed dancing with other residents as police arrive.
Very cold-blooded, in my opinion, very odd, having committed such a horrendous, horrific attack, savage I would call it, how he could then behave the way he did afterwards in such a jovial way, dancing, I can't get my head around that.
Rhiannon, who died 3 days after the attack, told her family that she enjoyed her work and felt she was making a positive difference.
He stops briefly to buy an alcoholic drink. Then approximately 1 hour after leaving the woman he'd stabbed 23 times for dead, Majek returns to the hotel car park, and he starts singing and dancing. The prosecution service noted that Majek appeared to rejoice in his actions. He was celebratory, cold. The person Rhiannon had offered food and kindness to was now quite literally celebrating her destruction. She was rushed to the hospital but never regained consciousness, dying 3 days later from a catastrophic brain injury. The only thing more confusing than Magic's celebratory dance is why some of you are still watching without hitting subscribe. Seriously, go to the comments right now and give me the reason. What's missing? Is the information not useful enough? Do you need to see this channel do better in one area or another? Tell me why you're choosing to risk missing the one piece of information that might save someone you love one day. I'm waiting for the debate. How do you process a mind that can inflict 23 frenzied wounds and then dance with joy an hour later? Is this truly a lack of remorse or something far more calculated? After Rhiannon was found and rushed to the hospital, the British Transport Police mobilized fast. Their first and best tool wasn't a witness, it was the camera. They immediately pulled the CCTV footage from the hotel and the station. The first clue was Magic's incredible composure. The man seen dancing an hour after the attack was wearing the same distinctive clothing captured on the initial surveillance. The timeline was the undeniable proof. Magic was the only person observed entering and leaving that deserted Bescott Stadium platform during the time frame of the assault.
Just leave him there for now. That's all this.
You got the jacket.
Sorry?
Don't touch anything.
Don't touch nothing.
Stand back.
What is he?
This one here. Choose the pink phone. Yeah, it's all good, mate. Yes, yes, mate. Just stand by, please.
When police arrested Magic in his room the next morning, he maintained a stone-cold facade. In his later defense, he would claim he had never even noticed Rhiannon, denying he was ever at the station. His story was simple, complete total innocence. But the police had already established an irrefutable path, a logical structure where every single piece of video evidence pointed back to one person. The officers didn't stop with the video. They seized the clothing from his room, the dark and light gray hooded jacket and the sandals. This is where the truth becomes physical. Forensic testing delivered the conclusive linkage. They found Rhiannon's blood on both his jacket and his sandals. But there was one microscopic detail, a definitive truth that obliterated every single lie Magic told. Rhiannon's DNA was recovered from underneath his fingernails. That DNA confirmed the intimate, violent struggle Rhiannon fought to survive. He could deny seeing her, deny knowing her, and deny being at the station, but he couldn't deny her own body's final, desperate attempt to leave a mark on her killer. Her final act was to point the finger. If the strength of that evidence, DNA under the nails, made you realize the truth always finds a way, please hit the like button right now. Share this story. That small click helps ensure justice for Rhiannon by getting her story seen and remembered. Her life was priceless, and we can't let her memory be erased by a killer's denial. Magic remained entirely silent during his over 90-minute police interview. What emotion do you think was driving him more? Fear of conviction or cold, calculated defiance? The case of the Bescott platform murder went to trial at Wolverhampton Crown Court. The prosecution presented an ironclad case. The hours of stalking footage, the terrifying scream heard by her friend, Magic's celebratory dancing, and the undeniable DNA evidence found on his clothes and under his nails. The jury only needed 2 hours and 5 minutes of deliberation. The verdict was unanimous. Guilty of murder and possession of an offensive weapon. As the verdict was delivered, Magic showed no emotion in the dock, a chilling final proof that his malice wasn't just in the act, but in the complete lack of humanity afterward. Rhiannon's family finally had their conviction, but even that wasn't the end of the legal complications. Immediately, the process hit a frustrating complication. Dungchul Magic's age. He claimed he was 19, Older documents from his migration through Europe suggested he was 27. Judge Sewell stated that the sentencing was postponed indefinitely because his true age had to be verified. Why? Because the age of the offender at the time of the crime dictates the mandatory minimum term he must serve under a life sentence.
Our energy isn't in him, and it never will be in him. It's about keeping Rhiannon's memory alive and making a positive change in her memory.
Life for a life. None of this deportation. I'm not against asylum seekers, whatever, but he's taken my daughter away. He doesn't deserve to be sent back to his own country. Serve his time here, every day of his life.
I don't think there'll ever be enough justice in the world to replace Rhiannon. How could you ever put a timeline on how long someone should be in jail, whether they get to remain in this country or any other country? Rhiannon's life is priceless.
Yeah, because we have to learn how to live without her. And he gets to live. And that's not fair.
But we will keep Rhiannon's memory alive. This case is not the last you'll hear of Rhiannon. There is a lot we have planned as a family. We hold memorials. We do a lot together to keep Rhiannon's memory alive.
Keep saying her name.
The justice the family fought so hard for now hinged on a bureaucratic fight over identity. Rhiannon's mother, Siobhan White, spoke powerfully, demanding Magic serve his time here in the UK. His crime, she argued, forfeited any right to repatriation. The sentence, whenever it comes, will never replace Rhiannon's life, but it must reflect the unique brutality of his actions. To Rhiannon's mother, Siobhan, and her siblings, Alexandra, Kara, Emma, and Daniel, especially her young son, we can only hope her memory brings some measure of peace. Rest in peace, Rhiannon Skye Whyte. What's your take on this? Was justice truly served when the sentence itself hangs on a question of identity? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The most insidious victory for a cold-blooded killer like Dungchul Magic is to have his victim forgotten. If you believe that a life of kindness, like Rhiannon's, deserves to be remembered and honored, and that evil should never win in silence, then you need to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification now. Thank you for watching, for your attention, and for joining us on this journey of reflection. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and above all, stay safe. See you on our next video.